white women. Nope.
White women are a huge disappointment.
These podcast stars decided to get political, and unfortunately, they got nasty too. We're going to break down a really unfortunate and toxic political turn from a very popular podcast that I used to enjoy in depth in this episode of the Brad versus Everyone podcast, where I take on the craziest ideas from across the internet, our media, and our politics, all from an independent perspective. If you guys are getting this episode, well, I'm currently traveling to Italy for a vacation, but I have content planned out for you guys. But next week, I will not be publishing videos. I know, I just went on another trip, but we're traveling and using up our vacation time before we head into this next phase of my boyfriend's medical training, where he won't be able to take time off very easily, and before we move to Miami in June. So I'm going to miss you guys, but I have some more content planned out for the next few days. In the meantime, let's get into this bonus episode where we're going to go over the I've Had It podcast and their descent into not just political commentary and tribal politics, but a particularly nasty and tribalistic and toxic version of it. So this is a podcast that I listened to years ago. It's hosted by these two women who did reality TV at one point. They're career women. They live out in Oklahoma. One is named Angela and the other one they call Pumps. And they are really funny and really charismatic and had this show that they just started doing on the side for fun. I've Had It, where they would rant about stuff they were fed up with. And it wasn't political at first. And it was really funny. And I used to listen to it. And it was really good. It blew up. It got very popular. But at some point, they started to sneak politics in a little bit. And they live in a very red state, but they are very stridently liberal women. And at first, it was just a little bit of politics. But at a certain point, I just had to turn it off because it became almost a majority political and unfortunately not even particularly interesting politics. I would call it like Occupy Democrats level politics, the equivalent of like a Facebook liberal meme page in their political analysis. Because while they're both, accomplished and successful women, neither of them has any background or expertise or knowledge in politics whatsoever. So they were just kind of popping off about stuff at an extremely surface level. And look, I try to consume all types of media, but I wasn't super interested in that, especially once they started going full political and featuring guests like Kamala Harris during the campaign and former President Obama, basically totally turning the podcast into something different. Even then, though, I wasn't mad at them. It's their podcast. They can talk about politics if they want. It's just, it no longer really interested me. I had enjoyed it as kind of a fun, entertaining podcast that was an escape from politics. And if I wanted that kind of extremely lowbrow liberal political analysis, I would have just gone on like Facebook meme pages or turned on MSNBC or something. But even MSNBC would be several levels of knowledge and expertise higher than this kind of commentary. But the main reason I found their political turn so objectionable wasn't just because they started talking about politics. Of course, that's their right. It's their platform. But because of the particularly nasty and vitriolic and frankly hateful way they viewed, talked about, and treated those who disagreed with them politically. And that has not stopped since I quit listening to the podcast. A couple of viral clips from their recent content make extremely clear. Take a listen to this first one.
I've had it with this idea that gets floated a lot in politics that we need to sit down and talk to the other side, right? Like, do I really have to sit down and say, this is why I think dictatorships are bad, and get out history books?
Are we there?
And it just seems like the burden of this always falls on the left to go sit down with the dipshits and have regressive conversations. And I think we all have to draw boundaries and say, we're not talking to stupid. And you can hear them all say, oh, look, you're talking down to them. And I would say, you're goddamn right we are.
So watching these clips, I'm just kind of astounded by the utter lack of intellectual humility, the complete arrogance and confidence that the world of politics and public policy and our current society is so simple that, yes, you two, with no particular expertise or knowledge about these subjects, have everything figured out. And the people on the other side of these really profound issues, the people that inhabit different information ecosystems, have different priorities, come to different conclusions, are not just wrong, but bad and fundamentally stupid. It is just an astounding level of arrogance to look down on people in this kind of way, and shows really no curiosity for why people believe the things they believe, just pure condescension and hatred. And it's not a good look. And it's really funny to me to hear this come from the democracy crowd, who, and I agree with them, is all about how democracy is the way to run a society, but yet you're not willing to talk to people you disagree with. You think everyone that views things differently than you is evil and irredeemable? Well, that's actually fundamentally inconsistent with how a liberal democracy has to function. And it's especially glaring to see them post this kind of take when y'all just lost terribly in an election just months ago, lost hard, massive L, and your response is to double down on the kind of condescending woke elitism that drove Americans away from your side and write off the people that voted differently as stupid and irredeemable and trash, and you think that's going to help you win more. The math is not mathing there, but go off, I guess. The clips actually get worse, guys, and I'm going to show you another one after this. AI is the future, and content creation is no exception. If you're a creator or you've ever wanted to get in on the game, well, it's never been easier, thanks to today's sponsor, Opus Clip. Finding the right moments from your long-form videos to clip for short-form content is really hard, and editing them down into the perfect reels that can go viral is so much work. Or at least it used to be before I discovered Opus Clip. Clip Anything is their newest AI-powered feature, providing creators with unmatched control to find and clip the best moments in our videos. For example, I put one of my recent videos in, and it pulled out a perfect moment for me to share as a short-form video, edited and analyzed for peak viral impact. Look, if you want to support tariffs, if you want to say the stock market doesn't matter, I disagree with you on both fronts, but we can have that debate if you're actually holding those positions. But that's not what people like Benny Johnson are doing. They're just flip-flopping. Clip Anything's time-saving AI capabilities are astounding. From B-roll generation to reframing to filler word removal to one-click audio enhancement. Get started on your content journey now. Just visit www.opus.pro/clipanything. It's really never been easier. So these women, the hosts that I've had at podcast, have apparently not gotten the memo that it's no longer 2020 and we're not supposed to be doing the insane divisive identity politics stuff anymore. Most normal Americans are completely over that. These two are not. Take a listen to this clip.
I'm going to tell you one thing I've just really had it with. When you look at Black women, 90-something% all voted one way. White women, nope. And I've had it with these white women that are just enablers to this patriarchal system, but then they act like they're cool boss bitches when they're peddling their multi-level marketing shit. Off. If you're not going to vote for women, then stay at home and be a trad wife. Otherwise, sit down and shut the and let the real boss bitches take over. It really pisses me off.
White women are a huge disappointment. The overwhelming majority are a huge disappointment.
This is psychotic. It isn't normal to talk about entire groups of people like this in this bizarre collectivist manner, especially when all they've done to offend you so greatly is disagree with you. But white women are a disappointment. Replace those. So let's say Black men are such a disappointment. Do you see how crazy that sounds now? Do you see how it's actually racist and bizarre to discuss entire demographics full of millions of individuals as if they're some collective lump sum, as if they're supposed to think or vote or act a certain way because of the box they check off on the census? It's just wild. They don't owe you their agreement. They are individuals who can have different opinions on everything from abortion to the border to the economy and beyond. And it's bizarre to say that they vote against women when you literally represent the side, the Democratic mainstream party, that doesn't know what a woman is. That not only is on board with bizarre things and disturbing things like the medical transition of minors, but also literally wants to erase the definition of biological sex from federal law. The Equality Act, which I assume, pretty safe to assume these two support, would replace the term sex in federal law with however you feel inside. So biological females would no longer exist as a distinct category in federal law. We've also seen this side of the aisle undermine the idea of women's sports and beyond, and yet you're saying anybody who's not not with you on all that is voting against women. To be clear, I don't actually think that women who vote for the Democratic Party are like betraying their gender or anti-women or anything like that. I think they just have different priorities on complicated issues, or maybe get different information, or land in a different place when it comes to choosing one of two ultimately shitty options, in my view, that we're stuck with in this country. But you're the one saying that women are traitors if they dare disagree with you and your infinite wisdom, while also the party that doesn't know what a woman is and is trying to erase it from federal law. The math isn't mathing, babe. And again, it's not normal to talk about groups of people like this. Y'all sound like the woke KKK. And I guess they've already admitted that this isn't their goal, but do they really think they're going to convince anyone like this? Really? Now listen to this next clip where they talk about Fox News, which is one of their regular punching bags.
I think we need to start bullying people that watch Fox News.
I agree.
I think they
shame them.
They need to be bullied for their abject intellectual laziness and the fact that they sit there and serve up this cruelty, and that these Fox viewers sit there and digest it with glee.
Like it.
It is the dumbest thing you can do. Watch Fox News.
I'm all in.
I can actually think of one thing that's dumber: watching the I've Had It podcast. To be clear, I'm not really a fan of Fox News these days. I think, especially since Trump's back in power, they've been mostly, and again with any news network, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, there are individual anchors and hosts who do a good job and reporters who do a good job. And there are some that are just total embarrassments and jokes. And so it's hard to totally write off any one network. But right, I mean, sure, there's plenty of criticisms to be made of Fox News. They're hyper-partisan. They're carrying water for Trump. A lot of them are. Yeah, I get it. They're doing friendly softball interviews with the administration in power. But literally every criticism of them could be made about MSNBC or CNN. The lack of diverse viewpoints, of voices, the lack of pushback and skepticism and criticism towards the party they're aligned with, the kind of if it bleeds, it leads, low level of a lot of the stuff they talk about. This is just like media problems that apply to basically all of these networks, but you're uniquely villainizing people who watch Fox as if your podcast is some like highfalutin form of intellectual dialogue. Y'all, I mean, don't do anything much differently than Fox News. You just make fun of people, mock people, you toe one side of the aisle, say certain talking points that are from one perspective. You don't have guests on that disagree with you politically. It's a total echo chamber. So I'm not sure what criticism. Oh, Fox News demeans and makes fun of marginalized people. You demean and make fun of people every episode. That is your brand at this point. So it's the lack of self-awareness for me is really audacious. And I just don't understand how anyone on the left can think that more bullying people, more calling them names, more looking down on them, more condescension is going to improve their political prospects. Y'all not realize how you got where you are? Because clearly, if you're still thinking like that, you don't. But of course, the liberal elite continues to embrace and uplift these podcasters as if they are just God's gift to the world. Not only have they had the likes of Barack Obama and Kamala Harris sit down with them, they were recently, I think a month or two ago, on The View and just had the red carpet rolled out for them, this fawning, glowing interview where they continued to just put their own toxicity on display. Take a listen to this.
When we first formed the podcast, we just talked about petty grievances. And a man that is high up in podcasting said, whatever you ladies do, don't talk about politics. And I thought, I think that means we probably should talk about politics because that white man has a luxury to never talk about politics because politics don't affect him. But when you look at the optics of us, you know, the Southern accents, the blonde hair, I think a lot of people think, oh God, this is about to get really MAGA. And then we stand up for marginalized people. And when you live in a red state and you see how much further marginalized these people get, then I get a bee in my bonnet. And I am ready to go hard in the paint.
Bonnet.
That's right. I want to go hard in the paint for these people. We have been on a nationwide tour, and we've met people from all over the country. And all in these red states, there are gay people, who now we call gaytriots, and trans people, whom we call theytriots, that are getting now bullied by their governors and by the state legislatures. And we get all of these DMs and snail mail and email that they feel like we're their surrogate mothers or their surrogate aunts. And so that has made us want to talk about politics more. And iHip News is like 15 minutes because let's face it, you can only take MAGA in small little doses.
Very.
So it's twice a day, 15 minutes. We try to put some comedy into it.
I don't think you could help that part.
That was cute. But
So it's kind of hilarious to me, actually, that these like strong feminist women just admitted that they made a big decision about their career based on what a man said by doing the opposite, because a man said it, so we shouldn't do that. Like, actually, you should probably just consider the advice you received, decide whether you agree with it or not do it based on someone's gender, because that's just the opposite, as if you were just doing whatever a man told you. Well, purposefully doing the opposite of whatever a man tells you just because they're a man is similarly illogical and dumb. And it's just a brain dead and bizarre statement to make, to claim that politics does not affect white men. Sorry, but how this country is run affects all of us. Our economy, our border, crime, free speech, basically every issue affects all the citizens in different ways. And there may be some issues that touch certain people more than others, but then there's other issues that touch certain people more than others in both directions. It's just a bizarre claim to make. And I just find it so funny how Jennifer is like framing herself as this woke white savior. Like, I'm a champion and defender for marginalized communities who just can't defend themselves, can't speak for themselves. They need me, the brave, strong white savior, to come in and fight the mean Republicans for them. You're actually just exploiting these communities to build your own brand and build your own celebrity and profile and wealth while doing nothing really but further toxifying and polarizing our political discourse with the low information mudslinging that now constitutes this hyper-popular liberal podcast. And I've just about had it with that. But what do you guys think? Have you ever watched this podcast? Did you originally like it like me and then kind of fall out of love with it as it got toxic? Do let me know in the comments, and please do consider hitting that like button and subscribing if you haven't yet. Thanks to Opus Clip for sponsoring today's episode, and we'll talk again real soon.